Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. My pleasure to be here. You may be wondering, what is this thing? I'll get to that in a moment. And first of all, does everyone understand what is 360-degree video? Everyone get that? So I'll first, before I go any further, because this talk is about those kind of videos, I want to talk about what is that. So you have a camera sitting here. Usually cameras are pointing in one direction, so I get this view here, right? But a 360-degree camera is filming in all directions, all at once. So you're capturing what's in front, on the side, on the back, and so you basically have lenses on all sides. And it's recording the whole room as your video. And then you can put on one of these things, which is a virtual reality headset, and then you actually feel like you're watching the film as you're in the room when it was filmed. Like you actually feel like you're there. And I want to ask you, what did the following three things have in common? Number one, being in Hong Kong during the past year when they had those student protests, where thousands of people were gathered on the streets. Number two, flying in a fighter jet at an air show in tight formation with other planes. And number three, being on stage at the musical The Lion King, right in the middle of the performance. What do these three things have in common? Anybody? Stressful, yeah. It's all happening around you. And those are three videos that I watched recently on this thing, this is called the Zeiss VR One. It's a headset, it has these little lenses in there that you can see, and you put your phone inside and it uses the phone screen to provide the image, and then it uses the phone sensors to track where your head's moving so it can change the image according to what's in there. So if anyone wants to try it, come to Posty Toasties and I can give you a demo later. But I'll put this up here for now. And so there's three things I want to talk about. If you're actually interested in making one of these films, there's three things I've discovered which I think are really important to know as a filmmaker, that you're different from the traditional style of filmmaking. If you've studied filmmaking or know a bit about it, there's kind of three things that are very common. First of all, you decide your framing of the picture. So the director will come and figure out exactly what he or she wants in the frame, and the camera angle, the position of the camera. Secondly, there's a series of steps called editing, where you cut the film, and usually you jump between scenes every second or so. If you watch TV, the cuts are really fast and it's always blinking around, and you jump from one angle to the other angle and things like that. And the third thing that's usually done is the camera is moving a lot. The camera is moving everywhere. Either on the dolly or someone's carrying the camera's in motion. So those are the three assumptions that are totally different with virtual reality filmmaking. The first of all, the framing. Well, obviously, because you're filming everything around in the room, you're no longer able to pick or direct a specific small little frame to show the viewer. Instead, the director has to create the whole environment around the camera that will be in the video. And when someone's watching it, it's up to them. Do they look here? Do they look there? And it's become very interesting because you can have your own experience of the film that's personal to you. And one example of this, in the Lion King example, they put the camera kind of near the back of the stage. And normally you kind of look at, if you're watching a video of the Lion King, you'd be looking at, say, the performance. But because the camera's there, I'm allowed to look to the side of the stage. I can see all the people waiting there. I can see the monitors that are showing like the crew, what's going on. I can see all the wires and everything that you're not supposed to see. So this is something that's changing the filmmaking altogether. And I think we'll have to think of it differently. So that's the framing. The second one is the cutting. Now, I was on the airplane going to Europe, and I wasn't watching the TV program, but I was looking at other people's screens just without the sound, and I noticed that it was just flickering, and there's cuts, like the image was cutting like every second or so for these TV programs. Imagine you were wearing this headset, do you really expect the world to be changing in the blink of an eye every second? It's very disorienting, especially if you're immersed in something, to find that suddenly you're here and then 1 second later you're just here and you jump around and you're back there. And so that is something that it doesn't work very well in this new kind of filmmaking. Instead, it's better to have a 30-second cut where you're in one spot for 30 seconds. It gives you a chance to look around the room and feel like you're there, and a feeling of presence in the space. And the example of the Hong Kong protest, the camera was suspended right above the crowd, and I could look around the whole street and see the people way down there. It was a really amazing experience. So yeah, that was the idea of the being at the place. And then finally, the third thing I want to mention is about camera movement. Because if you are a filmmaker, you usually know about trying to make the camera really steady and smooth so the user doesn't feel as bumpy. But if you're all surrounded by something, you also have to worry about acceleration and movement. Because the brain is thinking that you're somewhere else. And if the brain sees that you are moving or accelerating, it expects to feel the other effects of acceleration, such as your inner ear kind of moving around and stuff like that. So if your eyes are telling you that you're speeding up, but you're not speeding up, then it actually happens is you get dizzy after about 30 seconds. And so this is something that's a big problem with these headsets. I was wearing it the first day I got it, and I wore it for an hour because I was so excited. And then I felt like sick to my stomach, I felt dizzy. I had to go to sleep for like the whole night, and in the morning I felt okay. But it's something to watch out for. So if the video, I was on a camel, like bumping up and down in the middle of a desert, and because the camel's bouncing up and down, you're kind of like accelerating a lot. So I would say, for anyone making these films, if you don't want people to get dizzy watching your film, it's better to have either no movement where you're just in one spot, or you're moving at a very constant rate with no changes in the speed that you're going. So those are three things, the framing, the cutting, and then the movement, the acceleration, that are something to consider if you're ever going to be getting into creating these kinds of immersive films. And I think by following these kind of emerging best practices for creating virtual reality films, we can create really amazing immersive experiences that transport us to different places. And it's a really exciting development that's coming around. So thank you.